Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip. Jeff is on special assignment tonight. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, first off, we are going to talk a little bit about, this little bill that passed in the House of Representatives. That's pretty interesting. We'll jump into that. I don't want to give too much away on it. It did pass. It is a good thing. It is crypto related, but there's more to the story. Also, tonight, we are going to break down Ian Kane. Ian Kane is running as the primary Republican challenger to John Deaton. And is he the real deal? No. He's basically a Democrat operative mole. We're going to break it down tonight. We're going to show you exactly what this guy's been up to and how he spends his time. And then you tell me if he's really truly a Republican. And then also we're going to get into a couple other things, which is the Ripple briefs have also been filed. And we're going to jump into that and talk a little bit about what that means and what that doesn't mean. And it doesn't mean something. We're going to get some expert opinion from Jeremy Hogan. And that's all we have to break down for you guys. You guys ready to start off? Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
So welcome everybody. Go ahead and drop where you are coming in from, what part of the world you're coming in from, and I don't care. Make it up. I don't care. It's all right. Make up something fun. We get people from all over the world coming in here to converse and have a good time, learn, have some fun, all that stuff. Crypto G's in here. I see El Hefty's in here. Talented Mr. Flowers is also in here as well. So let's start off with this. I wanted to kind of break this down. So the Ripple versus SEC briefs, they're finished. Yeah, it's all in caps because Jeremy's actually like, wow, they're finished. We are past that step. And I think the SEC went out on a whimper here. Oh, please go on. It didn't even try to attack the on-demand liquidity sales, just noting that Ripple was trying to relitigate the issue, which it is, and then brought nothing new on damages. So just waiting for the judge now. And so that's what that looks like. It's done. It's done. It's officially done. It is done, baby. There we go. Coming in from New York City. Will, what's up? From Aussie, that's Fabio. What's going on, Fabio? Good to see you. Toronto, beautiful, Peter. I was just in Montreal. Love it. Haven't been in Toronto in a while, but I have been. If you ever go to Toronto, you got to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. G'day, Larkers. Steve Willett's in here as well. Jim D showing up on time. Beautiful. Love to see it. And then we have Jose de la Torre from California. What's going on? California's in the house. Got to love that as well. So let's go. There's some people made some comments on this as well. So I wanted to jump into what there was going on here. CryptoFo said, following this case from the jump, it felt like this day would really never come. It's just a little more waiting. Never thought in a million years I'd read so much legal jargon, but I learned a lot. Thanks for everything, Jeremy Hogan. And it is true, right? I mean, when were you ever that interested in a case, right? When you started to reading briefs and, the writ of mandamus was the first one that I read when John Deaton went ahead and filed that. And we had him on the show about, I don't know, it was 7 to 10 days when he filed it. And I was like, we got to get this guy on the phone. This guy's got some cojones. And I said, let's get him on the show. And then he had been on the chain. I can't tell you how many times, maybe half a dozen times. And the most amazing one was when it settled July 13th of 2023. You can imagine John was in huge demand. And so we had Jeff and I reached out to John and said, we'd love to have you on to break down. And he said, of course, guys, of course I'll come on your show. And that's who he is. He goes, I'll be on the show. You guys started it with me. You're going to finish it with me. So I love that about him. And then Jeremy Hogan, of course, no problem. You're the man, you rock. What's generally a reasonable time for the judge to rule? And Jeremy replies with, I'll start watching out for a ruling in July and I'll be WTF September. So, how these things go, right? There can be delays. There often are delays. So we never know exactly how that's going to come. Gotta love Hogan, of course. Agree. Always makes me chuckle. The man does. I don't get it. The case is going on for years and the judge needs half a year to decide. Damn, I should have skipped technical university and just got a law degree. No pressure to do your job. Well, it's a period of time which are allotted. And guess what? this isn't the only thing they're looking at. I mean, if they're sitting around all day going like, "What am I going to do today? Like, should I get a sandwich? Yeah, maybe I'll go out and get a." No, they're busy. They've got a lot of cases before them. They do have an allotment of time that they can get it done in, but it's not like they're sitting around twiddling their fingers going, "I still have 8 months on this. I'm good." So it's nothing like that at all. Are you thinking around 100 million? Jeremy Hogan responds, the judge has a lot of leeway on these things, and I think this judge is prone to compromise. So I just picked a number that seemed compromised to me, just guessing. So everyone's just guessing. I actually thought it would be less than that. It's hard to say only because if you look at the precedents from some other cases that have come before, you kind of know that the fines weren't really that big. But asserting that it's like going to be $2 billion worth, when the SEC is only alleging that it was $700 million, so what would be the penalty on that? Certainly not $700 million. And we've seen a lot of these. There's a very famous case where they wanted $500 million, and well, the judge looked at it and said, "No, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense for damages." So the thing about this is the damages actually have to be reflective of what happened and occurred in the marketplace. Was anybody really hurt? Were there any real damages? So who knows how the judge is going to rule? But I think Jeremy's right. It's probably going to come down to some sort of compromise. It won't be 2 billion or 1.5 billion, whatever it was, but it's probably not going to be 100 million either. I think it'll probably be in the 50 to 100 million dollar range. But it's just guesswork, right? You guys can pop in there what you think it's going to be. Hard to know what's going on, Ray. Good to see you. Indiana's in the house. What? Well done. The SEC is already signaling a suit of Ripple's new stablecoin before it even minted. Yeah, they are. And it's funny because they want to go after Ripple, but what about all these other stable coins, right? Jim D says it's clear the SEC and their political backers intend to control all aspects of Americans' involvement with crypto, even self-hosted wallets. And that's why I like Warren Davidson's, Keep Your Coins Act, that for some reason, it's a simple one. They can't even get it out of committee to talk about it. It's ridiculous. You think that a bill this important all it says is, hey, you can custody your own crypto. That's it. Like, what's the next bill? You can't put fiat under your mattress. I mean, this is how ridiculous it is. And the funny thing about it, it's on the blockchain. It's just your key that you're storing in somewhere safe, right? It's not like the crypto is not in your possession, just the key's in your possession. It's sitting out on the blockchain. So it's just the key to release it. So it's even less reserved, I would say more removed than like fiat, where you could take, a couple $1,000s and stick it under your mattress, right? I mean, you certainly could do that. Christian says, hey, how are you feeling about this, Jeremy? How are you feeling about it? He says, very positive for Ripple. Awesome. We need something good. We do need something good. It's always a great thing. Let's see. Jeremy, why did it show Ripple's stablecoin announcement as Exhibit 1 dash? Why mention that? Ditto try and say that Ripple is going. Did I say that? I don't even know what he's saying here. Did I try and say that Ripple is just going to play the same game with a different coin? They're just going to try to make an end run around the ruling. I don't even know. Jeremy was, I don't know what he means by that. I don't really know what he's saying there. Damn, Attorney Jeremy, can I take you out for a round of nothing burgers? Jeremy says that's my favorite drink. And as an attorney, that is your favorite drink, a nothing burger, right? That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And then we got M here. We got what Jackie says, what is wrong with this administration? It's beyond baffling. I don't think it's beyond baffling if your intent is in place and you are reaching the full potential of that intent. It's not baffling at all because it was all telegraphed prior to this. And before it was all secretive. It was all in back rooms like, hey, you're thinking like, no, they're not going to, no, come on, that's preposterous. Why would you think that, Jackie? That's crazy. But there's no more concealing it. There's no more hiding it. When you see them go, the administration going down for censorship issues, a lot of things heading to the Supreme Court, they get overturned. They know they can buy some time. You can pay off student loans. Hey, we paid off student loans. That's akin to buying votes, right? Let's buy people's votes. Well, good for that, because guess what? It was already struck down once by the Supreme Court. How do you think that's going to go again? They defied the Supreme Court, and the loan forgiveness was already turned over by the Supreme Court. So we'll see how that ends up going. Yeah, that's a good point. Scott M says the judge rules Ripple paid enough in legal fees, orders the SEC to pay Ripple $50 million. Sure. That would be funny. I mean, we'd all have a good laugh at that. Jim D says Uphold started requiring confirmation of ownership of offsite crypto transfer accesses a year ago. I suspect the SEC, CFTC et al. Will require a form to certify our wallet addresses. Yeah, I think this is a dangerous area. It really is, because do we know what happens to the politicians' money when they grease the skids? Do we know do we have transparency into their wallets and their bank accounts? We ought to, right? We ought to. If you can say that you can go ahead and have access to tax returns of an ex-president, then I say let's up the ante. Let's go after everybody in Congress. You should be full transparency. You're doing your civil duty. You were elected. Supposedly you're serving on behalf of the people. Supposedly, why shouldn't everything you do be transparent? Why shouldn't everybody have a copy? Why can't I go to any representatives or senators website and download their tax returns for the last 5 years? Why can't I research exactly and make sure that, hey, I wonder if that really did happen? But no, it's rules for we, not for thee, is how it usually ends up working. But I want to get to this part right here, and then we'll jump into the good stuff with about John Deaton's challenger here. Let's go here. And I wanted to pop into this. Why is this going on? Let's see what's going on here. Okay, there we go. So the Financial Services Committee, this just happened, it passed. So the House passed Mike Flood's HJ Resolution 109 to nullify the SEC's SCB 121 through the Congressional Review Act with bipartisan support. That's good to see, right? Makes a lot of sense. It passed. Yay, everyone's happy, right? Sure. So going to the Patrick, this is Patrick McHenry, who's the chair. He's the chairman of the Financial Services Committee. Today they passed Mike Flood's HJ Res 109, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 of the United States Code, the rules submitting the Securities and Exchange Commission related to Staff Accounting Bulletin number 121. And that 121 under the Congressional Review Act, CRA, was overturned by SCB 121. The bipartisan resolution ensures consumers are protected, removing roadblocks that prevent highly regulated financial institutions and firms from acting as custodians in digital assets. Remember, this rule came out, they were talking about the SEC is that it was some kind of weird language like you would have to have a custodian like this. And Jim D, this is coming back to your point, right? What they want to do here is they're trying to skirt the issue. They're trying to say like, well, you can't custody your own crypto, but it has to be done by an institution, right? Because then you can regulate them, then you can audit them. And then really, what are they really doing? They have all the data points. You know that they have it. I'm not going to tell you how they have it, but you know how they have it. But if you custody your own and you don't have an uphold that's reporting on that, well, who knows? But who knows if you have $1,000 stuffed under your mattress, right? So it's the same principle and point here. This is what I don't really understand. And then he goes on to say the Staff Accounting Bulletin 121, one of the most glaring examples of the regulatory overreach, and there's been plenty that define Gary Gensler's tenure at the SEC, said Chairman McHenry. The SCB 121 requires financial institutions and financial firms are safeguarding their customers' digital assets to hold those assets on their balance sheet, making it cost prohibitive to do so. Rep. Flood's bipartisan pro-consumer HJ Res 109 nullifies this SEC's disastrous SCB 121 that brings common sense into our digital asset policy. This resolution will allow consumers to hold their digital assets in one of the safest ways possible through highly regulated banks and other financial institutions. Pleased to see it pass the House. I'm pleased to see too, but then what could go wrong, right? Oh, wait, what's this? Oh, President Biden will veto legislation allowing financial firms to custody Bitcoin. The announcement comes amidst the debates and discussions in Congress today regarding the regulation of oversight of digital assets. Here we have, and this is just in, U.S. President Joe Biden administration says Biden would veto legislation that would allow highly regulated financial firms to custody Bitcoin and crypto. blah, blah, blah. Administration strongly opposes the passage. So even if it passes the Senate, it's going to get vetoed. And yes, it could be veto proof, but it's probably not going to have the votes necessary to veto it. Jackie says it's anti-American. I'll never vote D again. There you go. I never have. So there you go. There's my claim to fame. And I've been an independent for 25 plus years because most Republicans can be a little bit rough. Ryan McDermott says, I saw this guy running against John for the R nominee in Massachusetts. Asked if John wins, will you commit to supporting him? This fraud was asked twice and he refused to say yes. That's correct. Well, we breaking down this fraud who's a plant and a mole for the Democrat Party. I actually have that audio. I don't know if I will play it tonight because we have a lot to go through, but I will be posting it. So follow me on X, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. And that's exactly what happened. This AL is running for the R's. He's against John to protect Ward. Absolutely. It's so obvious. And that's what we're going to get into. But I have that clip that was broken down from a larger part. But basically, we'll get into that in just a little bit as we get through this. This Patrick McHenry. So honestly, it doesn't really matter because you have a scenario where the Democrats still can veto any sort of bill. So imagine what would happen if it goes through. It already passed the House, but let's say it passes the Senate. You know what that looks like when the will of the people is overturned by this anti-crypto administration? But it's everybody. There's very few Ds anymore. I can even see there's a couple of them, maybe 2, 3, 4 maybe, that are pro-crypto. The rest of them are anti-crypto, and they want to see it destroyed. So really what's all behind that, right? It's a little bit troublesome, but I think they're in for a big shock this November with the election. I think they're going to get their hands slapped. I think they're going to be surprised because I don't think they understand how many people, even they can read the stats, but I don't think they understand how many people actually have crypto or have purchased crypto, even this year alone, right? So how many people have actually gone out there? So we will break that down. Let me see what else is going on in this fine chat right here. El Jefe says Biden just vetoed his own presidency based on this alone. Yeah, there's been a lot of miscues, missteps. But again, a lot of times you see the administration will play both sides, right? And you can see it very clearly with this Israel-Hamas conflict. You give money to a country that then finds its way to attack another country, which then that country attacks another country. And then we need a ceasefire. But what's weird about it is if you go in and attack Israel, and Israel, you're calling for Israel for a ceasefire. I don't recall in the 2.5, 3 years that there's been a conflict with Ukraine and Russia. It's weird because I don't remember anybody calling on Ukraine because Ukraine was invaded. Ukraine is now fighting back, but no one said, "Hey, Ukraine, stop it. We need a ceasefire right now." Oh, but that's different, right? Yeah, well, that's different. Meanwhile, what isn't different is that Musk was democratically elected, and their main mission in life, as most people are taught who voted under this government and live under this government, is to hate and kill Jews and destroy it. So that's a little bit different, but no, everyone's calling for a ceasefire there. So there's a lot of playing both sides here. So you don't actually go boots on the ground. You build a dock, a massive dock that you can then put supplies into Gaza, but you're not actually physically there, but you could swim there. You see what I mean? It's all it's a lot. It's a lot going on there. I got to be really careful how I say that here. Mark Smith's and election theft is being planned as we speak. It is, but it's going to be a lot more difficult, especially when you've lost so much of your support is eroded. The numbers won't make sense. It just won't. They didn't make sense the last time. It's going to be even more difficult this time. So I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about John Deaton's Republican challenger. Now, what's weird about this is, and we'll jump into it, but here this guy was talking about maybe getting in the race. John Deaton announced, and they started talking, showing up on shows, and I might get in the race. I might get, prefacing he might get in the race. Well, if you already have John Deaton, who's already fought the SEC and won, right? There was a split verdict for the retail holders, which is who he was representing. right? 76,000 of us. He won, took on the SEC. Most people don't, not everyone takes on the SEC and wins, but John Deaton did it. Now, if you've read his book, you'll see he's a proven winner in life. He's won, he doesn't give up, and he's won pretty much everything he's put his mind to. And coming from his background and what he's been able to accomplish is the American dream. John lived the American dream, but he also grew up in Detroit. I used to live in Detroit. I knew the area where he grew up. It's not an area probably even when he grew up there, but it's not an area you want to be in. And going to bed hungry at night and all the challenges he had, I recommend you get the book and read it if you haven't. It's a phenomenal read. Rob McDermott was there in Australia with us when he presented a gift to John Deaton that had the quote, which was a phenomenal thing. It had the brass knuckles and it had a quote in a little frame that said, "I might sue the SEC." And he presented that to John at a dinner. And that was a really amazing moment. I do have that on video, but I will have to see if I get permission from some of the folks that are appearing in it before I can actually play that, but I can talk about it. And John was really touched by it. So it was a really phenomenal moment. But I want to talk about this because John Deaton, who he is and what his platform is and what he wants to do. Now, you may not always agree with John. I may not always agree with him, but what I'm convinced is that his heart is in the right place and he doesn't care about party. He's not going to do something that doesn't make sense to him if it's not good for the people. And that's kind of and I respect that immensely. One of the things about John is that he is in it to win it. And I have zero doubt that he's going to fail. He was just down at the border wall this past week. And he is really just, his campaign's coming alive. His support is growing. And a lot of people are going to be surprised, but he's going to take down Elizabeth Warren. And it will be one of the most glorious things. So now let's go into this here. Let's go into this. So this right here, this is Ian Kane. Ian Kane has been, he's telling us he's a Republican, but here he is. This is a picture from 2014. There he is with Elizabeth Warren. There's her phenomenal purple jacket that she wears pretty much everywhere. It's like a trademark thing. And there he is laughing, happy, really just happy to be around her. And here he is this year, or this was actually last year, but there he is with Joe Biden. But now you tell me, just forget about all the stuff we're going to break down, but you tell me which Republicans are seeking out the Democrat, especially one of the, and this guy owns a crypto company supposedly, right? Or some kind of blockchain related company. And there she is, the most, she was evil against the banks. Now she's against crypto, right? But she was going to go to Washington and what happened in 2008 in this meltdown, that's not right. And all these bankers need to go down for it. And what she ended up doing was letting the bankers write her bill because she's basically bought and paid for. She complains and bitches about everything on Twitter and yet does nothing about it. She's a do nothing, right? She's I think out of 112 bills she's been on, one passed, was something minor, but I mean, she's really done nothing of any substance. So let's get to the good stuff. Here it is. Time to rip the mask off Ian Kane and reveal him for the Democratic mold that he really is. Now, Kane is the Republican primary primary squaring off against John Deaton for the chance to challenge Senator Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts. So let's break this down. Does this guy really scream Republican to you? Ian Kane switched his voter registration to Republican on February 29, 2024. This wasn't a year ago. This wasn't 2 years ago. This is 2 months ago, okay? He switched his party affiliation. Now, he was unenrolled for 4 years, okay? He was previously a registered Democrat. And for the last 4 years, a little over 4 years, he was what's called unenrolled. And John Deaton's talked about this. I think over 50 to 60% of voters in Massachusetts are unenrolled. In other words, they're not affiliated with the party. Okay, so he was unenrolled, but prior to that, he was a registered Democrat. Okay, so we're supposed to believe that a guy who's a registered Democrat who loves taking pictures with Elizabeth Warren and President Biden, he's a Republican, right? Because, I mean, just everything about that screams Republican. So here are Kane's recent political contributions. In 2022, he donated to the candidate for governor, Maura Healey, gave $200. The candidate for lieutenant governor, Kim Driscoll, and now Maura Healey and Kim Driscoll are governor and lieutenant governor, and they're both Democrats. Gave $200 for her campaign. In 2018, he gave to Governor Seti Warren $1,000. Nice. Warren was opposing Governor Charlie Baker back then. So he wasn't against Warren then. They were lockstep. So far, they've been lockstep. 2018, he gave to the Massachusetts Democrat Party. By the way, his father is a famous Democrat who is very involved in the Democrat Party. Sure, you're a Republican. Tell us again how you're a Republican there, Ian Kane. In 2016, Congressman Joe Kennedy, I've got the video. He endorsed Congressman Joe Kennedy, $250. You guys see there's a sort of a string that runs through this. Democrat, 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 Democrat. But let's just wait. Did he ever vote for? Did he ever, give some money to a Republican? We're going to find out. 2010. Now here we go. 14 years ago, Congressman Stephen Lynch gave $215. Kane endorsed Mayor Michelle Wu. This is the mayor of Boston. A lot of people have called her a little bit on the nutty side, right? She's done some really questionable things. If you guys remember around Christmas last year, I'm not going to get into it, but she's done made some interesting choices. But guess who else endorsed Mayor Michelle Wu? Michelle Wu was basically the protege of somebody. So he's opened his wallet for Democrats backing Kim Driscoll, Andrea Campbell in their 2022 lieutenant governor and attorney general races. Yeah, there's another one, attorney general, another Democrat. Add that to the heap. Now, he was raised in Boston's Back Bay before shifting to Quincy, Massachusetts, where he is a, what is he there? I don't know his official title. He's a Congress, no, not Congress. What is he? It'll come up. But anyway, he's in the local Quincy. He's assemblyman, I think, something along those lines. It's a small government type of thing. So Kane threw his support behind Michelle Wu, Elizabeth Warren's political protege, and her 2021 mayoral quest. Kane, a Republican, more like Warren clone in GOP clothing. Please support John Deaton in his Republican challenge. Let's go on and take down that grifter, Elizabeth Warren. And you can. So I'm going to also pop this in here too. I know some of you are overseas, you can't donate, but you are interested in getting behind it. There it is right there. I just popped it in the chat. You can go to John Deaton's website and you can go ahead and donate to him. Look, $5, whatever you got, give it to him. It's going to be great. Now, last month, I know that he outraised Elizabeth Warren, which was absolutely phenomenal and amazing. You got to love that. I'm going to pull up the video now. This is the video of, let me stop here. This is the video of Ian Kane supporting a Kennedy, and all the Kennedys are Democrats. So you know, just in case you were wondering, like, maybe this Kennedy was different. Even RFK. A lot of people are thinking RFK is just amazing, and he's phenomenal. Well, he's a Democrat, and he's lockstep with Joe Biden, except for two things. One of them is the vaccines. Everything else, he's pretty much lockstep with. He's even a little bit, I would say, left when it comes to the climate stuff. But all the videos are positioned for him shaking hands, and he's a nice guy, right? He's a good guy. I love where his stance on, the COVID vaccines. I don't disagree with him there, but there's 95% of what he does stand for is Joe Biden. But you never see that in a video. You never hear the platform. Always stick to the things that are middle ground, or you might get support on both sides for. That's what we see. So, yeah, I don't think there's any love there. But let's go ahead and show this. Here he is endorsing Joe Kennedy.
My name is Ian Kane. I'm a city councilor in Quincy, and I'm...
All right, city councilor. There you go. I said assemblyman. What do I know? City councilor. There you go, in the city of Quincy. Now, how great of an endorsement is that if you are in the city of Quincy with his role and you are endorsing a candidate? I guess it carries a lot of weight. I don't know.
Hello, my name is Ian Kane. I'm a city councilor in Quincy, and I'm proud to endorse Joe Kennedy for U.S. Senate. I'm with Joe right now because the challenges of our generation require new, bold leadership in the Senate. It's time for our generation to take the mantle of responsibility in our state and for our country's future. I appreciate Joe Kennedy because he's a person of integrity, and there's action behind his words. It's time for leadership that's ready to tackle the hard issues. And Joe is that kind of leader. Joe speaks to the urgency, the frustration, and the passion of my generation. He understands that today we expect more from the people we elect to represent us in Washington. You've got to be more than a reliable vote. You've got to be more than catchphrases. You have to be a leader. You've got to invest here. You've got to show up here. And that's why I'm proud to stand with Joe. And I hope you will too.
There you go. Stand with Joe. Now he's standing with the other Joe as well. But I want to put this up here because Rob McDermott said, as I said at that dinner, John, you're a man worthy of being a role model. A discussion I had with both my sons about why we should have role models and the importance of who you look up to. Yeah, that was really powerful, man. Very powerful stuff. I really love that. Thank you for the obligatory supportive comment, BZ. It wouldn't be a show without you. And there you go. An obligatory middle finger to Gary, Warren, and Biden. Okay, there you go. We got that one as well. Joe, buddy says, you two don't like you, never show up in my searches. No, they don't. We've talked about this, yeah. But I look specifically, is Joe Kennedy a Dem? Yes, he is. They're all Dems. It would be interesting if you saw Kennedy was like, you know what? That's wrong. I just lied. That's not true. RFK Jr. is not a Democrat. He's running as an independent. I believe he's running independent, so technically he's not a Democrat. But I've never seen a Kennedy who's a Republican. But the closest one you'll find today would be John F. Kennedy. If you looked at his platform, he lowered taxes, right? He's heavy on, peace through strength, right? You had the Cuban Missile Crisis. You look a lot of what he did then, he would be center or center right today, his platform. If you looked at John Kennedy by comparison, he might have been the most centric, if not right, maybe leaning a little bit of right. Because, anytime you talk about cutting taxes, well, you get a lot of pushback from Dems, but he cut taxes, right? He was bringing the economy around. He was doing a lot of stuff. And he gave that speech about secret societies. I recommend you guys all Google it, but give that one. And geez, 4 weeks later, it was over for John F. Kennedy. So he was back then, you called it a secret society. Today it's referred to as the deep state, but he was attempting to take it out then. Unfortunately, he didn't have the sort of, probably wasn't the best thing to do is say it, what you're going to do in a speech. But anyway, he had really good intentions. That's what he was. John Deaton for Senate. Mark, thank you for your generous contribution to my campaign for the U.S. Senate. Yeah, that was really phenomenal. Yeah, that's, I don't know if you saw Rob, I think we showed that the other day on the show where Rob shared that. And then John had also talked about it a little bit. That was phenomenal. He really appreciates the, all of the stuff that people have been doing and contributing in any way you can help. Look, just get the word out. I went into a couple people's tweets that were saying, hey, take a look at this guy. And I'm like, well, I kind of just shared that last post on X, like, well, hey, take a look through this and then tell me what you think. Not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, hey, take a look at this and let me know if that's something you believe in, or maybe it's not exactly, it just, if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck. If it swims like one, right, here you go. And then here's another one. Let's break this down here. I basically took this off of his LinkedIn. So I went and started, kind of stalking a little bit. Yeah, you could say that. But I wanted to find out, like, hey, what's this guy up to? What's he doing? But check this out. So Ian was a total fanboy for Biden when he visited Massachusetts last year. This is from his LinkedIn. Hashtag Democrat plant. But here he is right here. This is him right a year ago. I can add presidential motorcade driver to my resume. Oh, wow. Can you? President Joe Biden, Executive Office of the President, was recently in Massachusetts to promote manufacturing investment in Somerset. And I got to drive one of the 24 vehicles in his motorcade and to and from the Providence Airport. Sounds like a Republican to you, doesn't it? Does it sound like a Republican to you? Sure. When we met, the president acknowledged my role as a city councilor and said, man, that job's tougher than being senator. They know where you live. I replied, and I keep coming by. A true honor to meet a living president of the United States of America. Many thanks to my friend Thomas Carroll for the opportunity. I hope President Biden can join us September 21st to the 23rd in Quincy, Mass. For Boston Blockchain Week. Now, why would you hope he joins you in Blockchain Week last year ago when this whole administration is against it? Gee, he looks like he's just not having a good time there, doesn't he? With a big old smile and talking to Biden. Not one picture, but two. We got the profile too. And this is Ian Kane, who's trying to smoke everybody, thinking that, if you're dumb, you're not going to understand. You're not going to know that he's just a Democrat operative mole that's just pretending to be a Republican. And let's face it, it's not that hard these days because most Republicans are rhinos, R-I-N-O, Republican in name only. He could kind of pass for maybe a rhino, but your background, when you only donated to Democrats, when you only post photos, there's not one photo of him and a Republican that I can see anywhere. I'm not saying one doesn't exist. I'm just saying if it is, I haven't seen it. I'd like to see it. So this is something fascinating about this guy, but he is not, and I repeat, not a Republican. He's a Democrat operative plant. Here he is again. Hang on a second. Let me get this out here. Somebody posted this in this is the crypto idiot who has also Deaton for Senate, but he said this. He said he literally had to slap a GOP patch in his sign to cover up what? So there it is right there. Ian Kane for U.S. Senator, written with a magic marker. This is when they were trying to secure the signatures. September primary, registered Indiana GOP. They put a sticker over top of it. This is good observation by the crypto idiot Deaton for Senate, right? What was he actually trying to hide there? What's actually going on there anyway? So let's see. Trying to get to this next one here. Yeah, so I want to get into this because John Deaton did visit the border wall. But before we do that, here's a quote. Ian Kane was featured in Politico, and it says, here is obviously the so-called Republican Ian Kane running against John Deaton. This was his quote. I've seen Elizabeth Warren come out as anti-crypto, and I've seen John Deaton come out as pro-crypto. Now, what that really says to me is that they're both grossly out of touch and out of step with Massachusetts voters. Really? Okay. Please tell us more. Deaton was this whole thing, they're out of touch. So Deaton's pro and Warren's anti-crypto, but they're both out of touch, right? Because why? Well, he doesn't really get into it. If you think about it, Deaton was the first to criticize Warren for a lack of attention to all the issues that were going in and around for the good people, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. He also talked about how immigration's taken its toll with, especially if you remember that youth center that they turned over, and they said, I'm sorry, the youth can't go there anymore. Why? Because, well, they needed it for the migrants, right? So the migrants came in, and so this is a big problem. But anything that plagues, Massachusetts voters, but the citizens, if you think about what Warren does, she kind of works on more of a national level. She doesn't strike me, when they put the fat in these bills, she comes home and starts beating the chest. Look what I got for you. Well, it was distributed to every state. Okay, so you're nobody special. This is what happens. They put what they call fat in bills. They pass a bill with this name, and then buried in there is something for every senator in every state, usually around election time, so they could say, I did this and I gave this money and I funded this project. But that's why they call it fat, because it's just complete garbage. Yeah, so he was in that. He was in that one. Let's see. Here we go. Let's open this puppy up. Warren gets a second crypto-friendly Republican Senate challenger, but John Deaton's out of touch. This is the actual headline, and this is Politico, which is, everybody knows, is a left-leaning publication. I wouldn't even say it's left-leaning. It's about as left as can be. He founded a startup incubator south of Boston that's geared towards growing the use of blockchain technology. But remember, John Deaton's out of touch for being pro-crypto and blockchain, right? So just saying something negative about somebody with no basis is ridiculous. It says here, claims cryptocurrency won't be a major focus of his campaign. It's not a major focus of John Deaton's campaign. even though he goes up against Congress' loudest crypto critic against Republican John Deaton, whose digital asset advocacy has attracted financial backing from major industry players. I've seen Elizabeth Warren, and we already read that. Crypto will not be the number one issue on the minds of Massachusetts voters. That's exactly true. It's what John's been talking about since he got in the race. The 41-year-old Cubic Labs founder, who's also the first gay black president of the Quincy City Council, formally kicking off his campaign on Wednesday. Now, I don't even know why is that important to bring into a story. You could talk about it. It's baffling to me, in which he calls to usher in the next generation of leadership. All he did in that video endorsing Joe Kennedy were buzzwords: leader, and stands for something, and not just great. Well, what does he stand for? What do you stand for? Usher in the next generation. Also, Cass Warren is running for a third term as an absent senator, more focused on burnishing her national profile. Yeah, true. Warren's the person that presumably, as soon as they come into this office in 2012, was focused on running for president and largely been focused outward. Okay, there he is again. Asking for a response, a spokesperson for Warren's campaign noted that the senator had secured more than $50 billion in federal funding for Massachusetts communities. See what I said? That's what they do. They got it for all the communities. It wasn't like she went there and she was the only one that brought it home. Sounds good. Like his main rival for the Republican nomination, Kane only recently joined the GOP. Before registering as a Republican this February, Kane spent more than 4 years as an unenrolled voter. Before that, he was a registered Democrat. He endorsed Warren's protege. A lot of stuff we already covered. But again, it just goes to show you he's also pro-choice when it comes to abortion. One of the big tenets of that, again, and I'm not saying, I don't care what his personal opinion is, but I'm saying it doesn't usually resonate with where he declined to say whether he would vote to codify Roe v. Wade. What they mean there is that they had 50 years to codify it, right? To actually put it in a bill and pass it as legislation. They didn't. And the reason Roe v. Wade was kicked back was because it was a states' rights issue. This goes back to the founding of the country, which said you are not entitled to abortion. It's not protected under anything of the Bill of Rights, under the Constitution. So it goes back to the states, and it's a states issue. And this is exactly what it's always been. It's always been a states issue. So, and I think a lot of things should be based on states. So if you're in a state where, let's face it, it's legal in 24, 25 states. Almost half of the states have abortion legal and half of them don't. And they're acting like, well, if you don't like it in your state, then do something about it. Change the laws, put it up on the ballot, get it, let the people vote for it and what they want. Worked on the issue in the Senate. I'll follow science and sure, we're protected, blah, 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 blah. He also bucked Trump and saying he would have voted for the bipartisan border deal. Blah, 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 blah. This is, yeah, it's the same stuff. Let's see what else. Yeah, so Kane's running in primary against Deaton, the asbestos victim attorney turned crypto community hero who gained notoriety after filing an amicus brief in an SEC enforcement case against Ripple, and who has now banked tens of thousands of dollars in campaign contributions and endorsements from industry leaders, angling to blunt Warren, a network of crypto super PACs that started the year with more than $80 million in the bank and already spent millions of dollars boosting industry allies and eliminating potential critics. Now, this is interesting because I want to see this so-called super PAC, which Coinbase is part of, Ripple. Trying to think of there's another exchange, but it's mostly like crypto, made up of crypto sort of personnel or people that want to see crypto succeed. $80 million. So they gave $10 million to Adam Schiff, who is in no danger of losing that race, by the way. Adam Schiff is a well-known Democrat who has a big name, who's been reelected time and time again. He's now running for Senate, but he was a member of the House for many, many years, right? He was in no danger against somebody who was a state senator. They gave him $10 million. And the only thing that Jeff and I could find when we were researching it is one statement in February, a really sort of a high-level pro-crypto thing. But I couldn't find him saying anything about pro-crypto before that. So the primary is coming up in September. If he prevails, he will not prevail. In September will be the primary, and we'll see what ends up happening there. But if you ask me, I don't think it's going to be close at all. I think John Deaton's going to crush it. And we'll see how that what kind of turn that takes. Let's see what else we have here. I wanted to pop these two ones up while we're on the subject here because this is pretty cool. So I wanted to, here we go, right here. So there we go. So I basically put a post up there about this excellent article that was written about John that aired in the Boston, what is it, the Boston Globe, maybe? I don't know what the hell the name of the damn paper is. Not Boston. What is it? What's it called? It is the Boston Herald. There you go. It's the Boston Herald, but it was an excellent thing. John had said, we must secure the border, but not only because of national security reasons, which alone is enough, but the open border and failed policies supported by Elizabeth Warren are cruel and have caused humanitarian crisis within our own borders, especially in Massachusetts. And I wanted to get into this a little bit. This is good. So this came out first thing this morning. John Deaton's Warren Republican challenger visits the border to truly understand immigration. He took a trip to Yuma, Arizona, and it included a meeting with the local sheriff and border fence tours. And there he is. That's a cool picture of John just staring up at that wall. That's where there is a wall. That's not where you see crossing, but he did go to the border wall to kind of check it out. Let's see here. Let's see if we can make this bigger. There we go. So here we go. Planning for the trip to Yuma, Arizona came in the wake of Governor Maura Healey's decision to use the Millennia A Cast recreational complex in Roxbury. That's what we were talking about before, to house homeless migrant families with children and pregnant women as they awaited placement in the state's emergency shelter system. These centers are really important because what happens to kids after school? School ends at 2:30, 3 o'clock. They could go to the center, play games, educational stuff, but no, they're told, sorry, kids, you're locked out. And this is one of the things, this recreational complex in Roxbury, that started housing, migrants, right? Because they need a place to shelter people. Deaton, who grew up in the neighborhood of Detroit, now looking to unseat Elizabeth Warren, said the move struck a chord with me because I know what it's like to be in the inner city. If you read his book, you know exactly what he's talking about. Taking away a recreational center where kids play sports bothered me on a big level because I identify with those kids, Deaton said. That's when I said, listen, this is getting completely out of control. I want to make a trip to the border. I know the issue, but I need to understand the problem better, Deaton said by phone Tuesday from a hotel in Yuma hours before he started his trek back to Massachusetts. You can't offer solutions if you don't fully understand not just the impact of the problem, but the root cause of it. The visit to Yuma included multiple visits to the border fence, including one Monday night with Yuma County Supervisor Jonathan Linnes that lasted about midnight, followed by another Tuesday morning. Deaton also had dinner Monday with Yuma County Sheriff Leon Wilmot. Deaton said the trip reinforced the idea that Congress and the Biden administration need to secure the border, including by utilizing more technology and tools to stop the illegal flow of migrants into the U.S. And the U.S. Border Patrol agents encountered thousands of migrants coming into the U.S. at the border of Mexico each month, according to Pew Research Center. The agency recorded more than 137,000 encounters along the southwest border in March. That's about 16% less than the same time last year. Oh, as if that sounds like a good thing. As much sympathy as I had, said John, I do for undocumented migrants. I probably didn't truly grasp the humanitarian crisis that these failed policies have created, Deaton said. I didn't truly appreciate what these migrants are going through. Spending in emergency shelters in Massachusetts become a hot topic on Beacon Hill, where the state lawmakers have approved hundreds of millions in extra spending to account for the influx of the migrants from other countries. countries, I should say. The issue has also become a focal point for the local Republicans' campaign for legislative posts. Deaton said he does not think there's any winning party when it comes to immigration, though the topic does highlight the broken system of partisan politics and division that's happening in Washington, D.C. Deaton said he would have voted in support of an immigration bill that failed under Congress early this year, even though it wasn't perfect. He also supports amending Massachusetts' right to shelter law, which guarantees temporary housing to homeless families with children and pregnant women, including migrants. Deaton emphasized he has empathy and compassion for migrants who are fleeing oftentimes unstable conditions in their own home countries. When you learn what they're going through, I don't care which political party you belong to. If you're a human being with a good heart, you're going to be impacted by these stories and you're going to feel for these people, he said. But he said he also believes more needs to be done to curb the flow of drugs and potential bad actors flowing across the southern border. That sounds like somebody I know. We need to close the border and expand our legal immigration, he said. I support expanding our legal immigration, making it easier for people to become citizens, to live and work here. Yeah, and so he's right, because it's incredible. So I've sponsored people to, for work visas. I've sponsored them in other ways. And the problem with it is it takes years. Now, vetting shouldn't take that long. Meanwhile, you're not vetted. You would walk across the border. And if you've flown anywhere in the US or anywhere in the world, you got to take all of your stuff out of your pockets. You got to go through a scanner. You got to put your hands over your head, right? You got to get scanned. But what they're doing here in the US is when they come across the border, they're not even going across the border anymore. They're just flying them into Miami. The most undocumented migrants that were found, the legal aliens that were found, were shipped into Florida. Think about Florida, right? Why Florida? Well, you know why Florida. Because they're sending them to all the blue areas of the country, all the Democratic cities, right? Chicago, New York, California, right? Some other interesting areas. But the most that were flown in, of hundreds of thousands, the most ended up in Miami, interestingly enough. Deaton goes on to say, the former Marine is no stranger to Yuma, having served there for 3 years on active duty from 96 to 99, including one of the top prosecutors in the local Marine Corps Air Station. In one case, he prosecuted in 99. Deaton said a Marine Lance Corporal was being used by a cartel to transport drugs across the border. John, there it is. Okay, so yeah, John Deaton, Republican challenger, U.S. citizen. Pictured here in 99, the Marine Corps Air Station in Yuma, Arizona, after a drug bust involving Lance Corporal. Deaton was a top prosecutor. There it is right there. Does that Deaton? Does that look like John Deaton? Okay. As chief prosecutor, I think I don't know. It says it was courtesy of the John Deaton campaign. Okay. As the chief prosecutor for the base, Deaton said he coordinated with Border Patrol agents and Naval Criminal Investigative Services on a sting to break up the operation, arrest, and successfully prosecute the Marine. I've had experience of trying to combat the drugs coming through, and I've learned some incredible things. Like I learned the amount of fentanyl that's coming across Yuma County at the border could be as high as 50% of the fentanyl that enters Massachusetts. Ooh, that's insane. Insanely rough. So there you go. I mean, it's important that we talk about this. I don't know if you guys have a chance to read this stuff, but I wanted to go through it tonight. I wanted to break it down a little bit, because I think it's important to realize that if you had someone like John Deaton entering the race, going for the Republican nomination, why would you jump in and challenge him, right? It doesn't make any sense. I understand a lot of times, especially since as early as February this year, she was dancing around because she was going to go unchallenged, which means she would be the only one on the ballot. No one's going to challenge her, and she's just going to win. Now Deaton gets in the race, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here comes this guy who's a lifelong Democrat, pretty much. He's only supported Democrats. His whole world has been around Democrats, but okay, he's going to enter as a Republican, right? So for what? To break the nomination, right? To get the nomination. This is why we need to fight harder than ever, guys. We need to get the word out. We need to back John. I mean, can you imagine Senator John Deaton? He's going to win. People betting against him are going to be very sorry, because if you wanted, and I hope this guy debates John, because John will absolutely rip him a new one. John is no one to mess with, and he's a proven winner, right? So to me, and will even Warren debate him? I doubt it. Yeah, it's a federal prosecutor. You don't think he knows how to outwit somebody in a debate? He does. He's beyond clever, beyond smart, and he won't say that for himself, but he is. And this is the guy who is going to be one of the people we need in Congress, a real person that understands crypto, right? A human that understands crypto, not like some of the senators now. I know they're Bitcoin maxis. John owns Bitcoin too, but he understands the space. He'll be able to enroll people in what it means to be into digital assets, into crypto, not the stuff they keep harping on over there in the Congress. And he certainly has a lot of allies in the House, people like Tom Emmer, people like Warren Davidson, right? There's a lot of people that are pro-crypto, even Patrick McHenry. There's a lot of pro-crypto people there, and there's some Democrats as well. And I just thought that we should break it down. We should talk about it. I don't know if there was anything else I had on that. It might have been something else. Let me see. I think it was pretty much. I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, there might be something. Let me see. Is there anything else? I always feel like there's something else. No, I think that's it. There's something else. There's like one other minor story. We don't have to get into it. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you guys back 5 minutes of your time. We're going to end a little bit earlier tonight. But before we do that, there it is right there. Dems look nothing like the Dems of 40 years ago. Hell, Clinton would be considered a Republican these days. I don't think you're wrong, really. I mean, as they've steered so far, it's really hard to say, right? We don't have a senator. We have a non-voting member in Congress, no representation. However, no taxes to Uncle Sam and no funding to Ukraine because of it. Puerto Rico is where it's at. Puerto Rico, there you go. So I don't think there's any debates now scheduled, but there has to be a debate. So one of the things that I'll get into, Jeff and I will unpack, and I'll start posting about it, but I'll post a clip where he's asked point blank, you're a Republican, John Deaton's a Republican, one of you is going to win the nomination. Are you committed to supporting the other Republican? He was asked twice, and he skirted the issue. Yeah, you're a Republican, right? 2 times. I'm sorry. Foolish once. Shame, 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 my man. We're not stupid. We're on to you. You're a mole. We get it. And this is, I want to see him do a real interview where they ask him real questions, which is possible, you know. Here's a famous quote from Elizabeth Warren. Hold a sec. I'm going to get me a beer. That's right. And the other famous quote was like, oh, look who stopped by, my hubby. Yeah, I would imagine he probably would stop by the kitchen since he does live with you, right? That's a good one, Mark. Beautiful. I'm going to get me a beer. Right? That's how she was like. She was doing like, I mean, it's always so funny. That sounded like John Kerry in, was it 2004 when he went into Ohio somewhere and he goes, is this where you get them fishing license? I'm going to get me a fishing license. Like belittling people, talking down, because, you know, those ham and egger people, they're the working class, you know, they got to get them. They don't talk proper English to get me a beer. You know, that's so funny. Open border equals black market profit. That's right. There you go. Yeah, there's a rapper John age picture there. Yeah, that was a remember in his book when he wanted to be a rapper. That was awesome. Yeah, the audiobook is good. I actually prefer the audiobook, and I'm like halfway through it again. So yeah, but this is, and it's great to hear it in John's old voice. So if you're not a person that likes to read and you want to support John, great. You're out of state, just buy his book, you know, or listen to his book. But if anything, it'll give you a better appreciation of who the man is, the fight he's been through his whole life, and that most people would have quit. And most people do quit. And that's not who John Deaton is. John Deaton's a proven winner. He's the next Republican nominee. He's the next Republican senator from the good state of Massachusetts, of the Commonwealth there. And it's so funny that Mitt Romney was the governor there, and he was a Republican as well. I don't know if I call him a Republican, and he went out to Utah and became a senator there. And now John's going to do the opposite. John will be a senator. I see him moving up to the governorship and maybe President Deaton one day. How amazing would that be? That's all I have for you guys tonight. Jeff and I will be back on Saturday morning. Well, Jeff will be. I'm actually going to be out this week. So we're going to kind of be getting one or the other for a little bit because I got some stuff that I'll be out on Saturday. But Jeff will be with you guys Saturday morning. And that's all we have. Appreciate you guys as always. Appreciate it. Great conversation. Really important topic. Yes. Have a good one, Rob. By the way, Rob, I still owe you that. I will hook up with you, and you know what I'm talking about. I can see it in your profile pic right there. Badass Yeti. All right, guys, that's all we have. You guys have a great one. Let's get it. Let's play you out. See you guys later. Chip and Jeff out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe. subscribe and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.